Yeah, so this is pretty good. I'll tell you right up front, guys, sometimes I have to be, brutally honest in the sense of where I'm coming from on these, like, starting out, and so the movie is pretty good. It's fine, like, the eventual number review, like, to the extent that the numbers matter on these, and I don't really think they do. There's numbers on these reviews because you have to have numbers on them to get a lot of the review sites that post and track these for traffic purposes to bother counting them. As far as I'm concerned, the words matter more, and the general opinion word from me on this one is it's pretty good. Nothing wrong with it. If you really like How to Train Your Dragon, the original movies, you will probably like this one. Basically acceptable live-action remake of an animated classic, where the animated classic is definitely better. 2 in a row so far for the summer. What I gotta tell you about this one is just coming like straight from the heart, me speaking on behalf of me in this case, is that this is the most old, just in terms of, if there's not that much interesting to say about the movie, which I don't really think that there is, and it's not necessarily a knock against the movie. I think that this is mostly aiming to be a very acceptable movie, and that's what is probably being demanded of it by its makers, by its studio, and by its audience. This is even more so than probably the Lilo and Stitch remake, which mostly exists not so much to remake the original movie, but to get the concept that Stitch can be in live action and probably be in more movies that have less to do with the continuity, such as it is of Lilo and Stitch, into the public imagination for Disney to continue to exploit. The purpose of this movie is to reaffirm the surprisingly strong continuum of the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, mostly because DreamWorks and Universal have built a new theme park, which they've sunk a considerable amount of money into. They built, I think, more than one How to Train Your Dragon theme park, or they're in the process of building more than one How to Train Your Dragon theme park. And they need to get the specifics of the look and feel and dynamics of that universe and remind the strong fan base for what was a very good trilogy of movies and a TV series, which I didn't see, but people tell me was pretty good. So this is, more so than probably almost any other live-action adaptation of an animated movie that I've seen for anything, a fan film for itself. These are actors, at least one of whom is just playing a character that they voiced before in really good cosplay of animated characters, CGI, realistic but not deviating from the original animated designs versions of the dragons, and locations that basically look like theme park attraction versions of the locations from the animated movie, and these characters moving around in them. It is essentially a theme park attraction movie version of How to Train Your Dragon, more so than a remake in the conventional sense of the term. So it's kind of surprising, given that description of what this exists as, that it feels not like a soulless corporate product, even though it exists very much as the definition of corporate product. This is an advertisement for a theme park, much more so than any of the live-action animated remakes that we've seen from the other company, but actually is telling a much more compelling story and has more compelling characterizations that you usually get out of those. It's definitely a better film from a filmmaking standpoint than the recent Lilo and Stitch movie or the Snow White film. So before I go and throw up the number business on the end, call this at least like a 7 out of 10. I'm not even going to bother looking up what I gave other recent things there, but this is at least a 7, and that feels like a strong number for it, for what it is. But that's sort of at the beginning and end of what interesting things that I have to say about this as a film, because it mostly does feel like you're watching a very lovingly produced fan film to a better animated movie, which is fine. But that's kind of the beginning and end of interesting things that I have to say about it as a movie. As a film watching experience, what I can tell you is that I cannot remember feeling older watching a recent movie than I felt watching this. And that's not a knock on the movie, that's just a description of if this feels like an unfairly unenthusiastic review to you, that might be where this is coming from. You know, this is probably the first time that I've seen a film reach original to remake cycle. This is a remake of a 15-year-old movie by now. The original, I think, came out in 2010. Had multiple sequels in animated series, has now reached its remake status. So it's 15 years. First time I've seen something like this that reached its remake cycle status entirely within my adult life. So there are people that grew up with this, that have a genuine, I was a literal child when this came out and now I have reached adulthood and this is stirring childhood memories within me, and will have that experience with this franchise that is completely alien to my experience with this, who always experienced this from the outside as an adult watching other people grow up with this. You know, my connection to this is not nostalgic so much as, oh yeah, I kind of remember seeing that once, and watching the sequels and thinking, yeah, these are pretty good, these are above average for kids movies. The rest of the audience around me gasp in recognition of, oh, this is that part, this is that scene. The action scenes in this very, very accurately managed to translate the big flying and fighting set pieces, and the kid is meeting his pet dragon, isn't that sweet scenes from the originals. It is a very strong adaptation in that regard. But got a very, very profound sense of, wow, this is what that feels like, sense to me, of seeing this from the outside and mostly recognizing, wow, this is the new crop of young teenage actors. Boy, they sure do look like basically exact clones of the 10 to 15 years ago versions of these exact kids. Like, I had to keep reminding myself, no, this is not Logan Lerman or whatever the 15 years ago version of this young actress was. Those people are in their 30s and 40s now. These are new people. This is a person named Mason Thames. That sounds to me like a made-up name. This sounds like the now actual probably 20 years ago Family Guy sketch where they don't recognize the made-up names at like the Kids' Choice Awards.
I tell you, every year I recognize fewer and fewer names.
Lombard Montague, Grace McLady, Andy Colorado, the Mondo Twins, Purple Stuff, Tank Top Gay Face, Chad Zachary, Zach Chadwick, Chad Chaddenson, C. Zachary Chad.
No, this is a new young actor. He's very good. Yes, I know he's the kid from Black Phone. He's a very good young actor. I'm actually shocked that he is only 17 years old. He has that look about him that he kind of looks like they found a 20-year-old and told him to play a 17-year-old. No, he's an actual teenager. I hope Hollywood takes care of this kid. He's a good actor. I guess this young actress playing Astrid is Tandy Newton's kid. Also, news to me, Tandy Newton has a kid. Okay, cool. If there is a significant difference between the two movies at all, it's that the live-action version seems to place slightly more emphasis on Hiccup and Astrid's relationship than between Hiccup and Toothless. There seems to be a little less dragon business in this one, only by volume, because they've made it about a half hour longer than the original was to fit in more human character stuff. It is amusing that Gerard Butler is essentially playing the exact same character with very subtle differences to him, but there really isn't that much difference between cartoon Gerard Butler and real person Gerard Butler. Sort of wish they got Craig Ferguson back, but Nick Frost is fine. Anyway, this is fine. 7 out of 10. Made me feel very old, but for unrelated reasons that have no knock against the movie. But if you really like the original, you will probably enjoy this one. I hope we don't remake every animated movie. Like, DreamWorks, if you're listening, we do not need live-action Shrek. We really don't need live-action Shrek. Shrek 5, yes, make Shrek 5. Make Shrek 5, and Mike Myers, Austin Powers 4 would make like $1 billion right now. Like, that would be fucking awesome, but we don't need, and Shrek 5, great idea. Austin Powers 4, great idea. We do not need live-action Shrek. Please do not make live-action Minions. I'm begging whoever's in charge of this, do not make I'm fully aware that you're going to do live-action Minions. I'm fully aware that you're going to find a reason to stick the Minions into live-action, and I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. But don't. I understand. I want Steve Carell to be able to retire very well too, but not for live-action Minions, please. Anyway, yeah, this is fine, and I'm very old.